Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to His Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's from Canto 2, which is entitled The Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 9, which is entitled Answers by Citing the Lord's Version. Text 8. Without further ado, we'll start the class. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Yashodanandana Radhajanaranjana, Yashodanandana Radhajanaranjana, Yamunathira Vanachari, Yamunathira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari 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 Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivrajakacharya Stotra Satyasri Maharaj Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitya Prabhishta Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivrajakacharya Stotra Satyasri Maharaj Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Prem se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Sri Advaita Gadadha Sivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopala Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Nitrai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Gaur. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glory to the Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimadi Bhakti Tera Swami Nityanamini Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Siddhartha Sri Guru Karma Shakti Bhakti Hare Krishna Narayana Namaskritya Narum Chaivam Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nastya Prayesva Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama-shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 8. Divyaṁ sahasrābdam amogha-darśano jitānilātmā vijitobhayendriyaḥ atapyata smākhila-loka-tāpanaṁ tapas tapīyāṁs tapatāṁ samāhitaḥ Divyaṁ sahasrābdam amogha-darśano jitānilātmā vijitobhayendriyaḥ atapyata smākhila-loka-tāpanaṁ tapas tapīyāṁs tapatāṁ samāhitaḥ Divyaṁ sahasrābdam amogha-darśano jitānilātmā vijitobhayendriyaḥ atapyata smākhila-loka-tāpanaṁ tapas tapīyāṁs tapatāṁ samāhitaḥ. Hare Krishna. Please chant.
Divyaṁ sahasrābdam amogha-darśano jitānilātmā vijitobhayendriyaḥ atapyata smākhila-loka-tāpanaṁ tapas tapīyāṁs tapatāṁ samāhitaḥ. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Divyaṁ sahasrābdam amogha-darśano jitānilātmā vijitobhayendriyaḥ atapyata samākhila-loka-tāpanaṁ tapas tapīyāṁs tapatāṁ samāhitaḥ. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Divyaṁ sahasrābdam amogha-darśano jitānilātmā vijitobhayendriyaḥ atapyata smākhila-loka-tāpanaṁ tapas tapīyāṁs tapatāṁ samāhitaḥ. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? All right, so we'll do word for word now. Hare Krishna. Divyaṁ, pertaining to the demigods in the higher planets. Sahasra, 1,000. Abdam, years. Amogha, spotless, without a tinge of impurity. Darshana, one who has such a vision of life. Jita, controlled. Anila, life. Atma, mind. Vijita, controlled over. Ubhaya, both. Indriya, one who has such senses. Atapyata, executed penance. Sma, in the past. Akila, all. Loka, planet. Tapanam, enlightening. Tapa, penance. Tapīyāṁs, extremely hard penance. Tapatāṁ, of all the executed of penances. Samāhitaḥ, thus situated. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Brahmā underwent penances for 1,000 years by the calculations of the demigods. He heard this transcendental vibration from the sky, and he accepted it as divine. Thus he controlled his mind and senses, and the penances he executed were a great lesson for the living entities. Thus he is known as the greatest of all ascetics. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Brahmā heard the occult sound of tapas, but he did not see the person who vibrated the sound. And still he accepted the instruction as beneficial for him. And therefore he engaged himself in meditation for 1,000 celestial years. 1 celestial year is equal to 6 times 30 times 12 times 1,000 of our years. His acceptance of the sound was due to his pure vision of the absolute nature of the Lord. And due to his correct vision, he made no distinction between the Lord and the Lord's instruction. There is no difference between the Lord and sound vibration coming from him, even though he is not personally present. The way of understanding is to accept such divine instruction, and Brahmā, the prime spiritual master of everyone, is a living example of this process of receiving transcendental knowledge. The potency of transcendental sound is never minimized because the vibrator is apparently absent. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita or any revealed scripture in the world is never to be accepted as an ordinary mundane sound without transcendental potency. One has to receive the transcendental sound from the right source, accept it as a reality, and prosecute the direction without hesitation. The secret of success is to receive the sound from the right source of a bona fide spiritual master. Mundane manufactured sound has no potency, and as such, seemingly transcendental sound received from an unauthorized person also has no potency. One should be qualified enough to discern such transcendental potency. And either by discriminating or by fortunate chance, if one is able to receive the transcendental sound from the bona fide spiritual master, his path of liberation is guaranteed. The disciple, however, must be ready to execute the order of the bona fide spiritual master as Lord Brahma executed the instruction of his spiritual master, the Lord himself. Following the order of the bona fide spiritual master is the only duty of the disciple. And this completely faithful execution of the order of the bona fide spiritual master is the secret of success. Lord Brahma controlled his two grades of senses by means of sense perception and sense organs, because he had to engage such senses in the execution of the order of the Lord. Therefore, controlling the senses means engaging them in the transcendental service of the Lord. The Lord's order descends in disciplic succession through the bona fide spiritual master, and thus execution of the order of the bona fide spiritual master is factual control of the senses. Such execution of penance in full faith and sincerity made Brahmaji so powerful that he became the creator of the universe. And because he was able to attain such power, he is called the best among all the tapasvis. Oma Gena Tivirandasya Gyana Gena Shalakaya Chakshu Omilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Jitānilātmā Sthāpitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kanamayam Dadati Swaparantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Peshnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirveshesha Sunyavadi Pasyatya Deshatarine Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gaurasute Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Jai. So the English translation again. Lord Brahma underwent penances for 1,000 years by the calculation of the demigods. He heard this transcendental vibration from the sky and he accepted it as divine. Thus, he controlled his mind and senses, and the penances he executed were a great lesson for the living entities. Thus, he is known as the greatest of all ascetics. Hare Krishna. So, this is about Lord Brahma and what he did. Lord Brahma underwent penance. And it was from an instruction, tapa, do penance. He did not know what to do after he realized that seemingly he was alone. But the Lord actually was the one through whom Lord Brahma was born, the lotus flower coming from the abdomen of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So Lord Vishnu gave him the instruction. He didn't have to reveal himself. He just used sound, tapa, and Lord Brahma obeyed the instruction. That's our first lesson. When instruction is coming from a bona fide source, we don't have to actually see the person physically. If the instruction is from a bona fide source, we have to take the instruction. So in ISKCON, and actually in the Sanskrit language, we use it in ISKCON, there's the conception of Vani, there's conception of Vapu. Vapu is the body of the person giving the instruction, and Vani is the instruction. For those of us whose spiritual masters have left the bodies, it's very, very clear to us. We're not going to see the Vapu. The body is gone. So it's the instruction that matters. Srila Prabhupada, when one day, that he was already old, as we all know, physically, that is, and somebody asked him, how will the society go on after you leave your body? Srila Prabhupada said, I shall never leave. I will always be present through my books. But the books are not Vapu. Srila Prabhupada's Vapu definitely left. The body left. The body stopped working. The body is buried. But he said, I will never die. So he was more concerned not about his physical body, but about the instruction that he'd given. And as long as the devotees obey the instruction, Srila Prabhupada is still living. He's living through his books. He's living through the instructions given in his books. And many people are being converted into devotees, not based on Srila Prabhupada's body. I never saw him. He came to the United States, but he left the body exactly 2 months and 1 day before I arrived in the United States. So I know I came to Srila Prabhupada's instruction. Now, I didn't become a devotee right away. I was in graduate school, but later on, when by Lord's arrangement, I finally got connected with Atapyata Swami, who became my spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada had already left. So the Vapu isn't what should be so important to us, the instruction. So that is the first thing. The instruction is important. That's the first thing the Brahma teaches us. Brahma took the instruction, and as the translation says, he underwent penances for 1,000 years by the calculation of the demigods. And Srila Prabhupada said, you calculate one celestial year, the demigod year, by multiplying hours by 6 times 30 times 12 times 1,000. Now, if you calculate it, it comes to 2,160,000 years of our years. So that seems to us a very long time, more than 2 million years. In Lord Brahma's time, it's not a whole lot. In his time, demigod's time, it's one celestial year, 1 year of the demigods. And he lives 100 years based on the time in Brahmaloka. The times vary a little bit. I won't spend so much time on it, depending on what planet that you're on. We have a very short time. You go to the moon, it's a little longer. Then you go to Janaloka and Tapaloka, and Brahmaloka, it's even more and more and more and more calculations. So this one, Srila Prabhupada did the math for us. 2,160,000 years. Now, Lord Brahma accepted the sound because of his pure vision of the absolute nature of the Lord. Another instruction. The Lord is absolute means the sound of the Lord or the sound from the Lord, that's the Lord. It also means the pastimes of the Lord are the Lord, the paraphernalia of the Lord are the Lord. We can't be like that. We have things, but the Lord's things are also him, which means the way that he conducts his life can come from any part of his body or anything that he possesses. To break it down to our level of looking at things. But because it's an absolute platform, no one can be like that. Things about him are him. It's explained in the Shastra that the Lord's paraphernalia are all Balaram. But Balaram is the Supreme Personality of God at the first plenary expansion. So that means that's also the Lord. So Balaram is serving Krishna in that way. But Balaram is also Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's why things from him are him. And the things that he uses are also him, because they're Balaram. There is no difference between the Lord and the sound vibration coming from him, even though he may not be personally present. So this is Prabhupada explains it that way. And the best way of understanding is to accept such divine instruction. So Brahma is the example of receiving these transcendental knowledge. This is from the purpose. Prabhupada explains it right to the point. The potency of the transcendental sound is never minimized just because the person that is saying it is not there. You can't see him. And Lord Brahma could not see Lord Vishnu at that time. But still, he obeyed the instruction. So, the point Srila Prabhupada is making is, since we do not see who spoke and who listened to Bhagavad Gita, Krishna and Arjuna, we don't see them physically in front of us, or for that matter, Maharaj Pariksit and Shukadeva Goswami, Srimad Bhagavatam was being spoken and heard through them, but we don't see them in front of us. The potency of what they've talked about is never minimized. So understanding that we don't have to wait to see or to get to a situation where we can see the personality before we say we're going to accept it. No. And for that matter, when the spiritual master gives you instruction and he's not personally present in front of us, the instruction is still potent and it has to be obeyed. The bona fide spiritual master's instruction has to be obeyed, just like Lord Brahma did when he heard the sound. The other point the Prabhupada makes is one has to receive the transcendental sound from the right source and accept it as a reality and do what the sound says to do without any hesitation. That's three things. Receiving it from the right source. Now, how do we know the right source? That part we don't have to worry about. The parampara has already set up the right source. All we have to do is, once you come to this society, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, you are at the right connection. You are in the right sampradaya. And you just hear and you do. That part has already been done for us. Now, we accept it. That's on us to do. It means we take it seriously and take it to heart and do this without any hesitation. Now, that's where Maya sometimes comes in and gives us all kinds of reasons to hesitate or procrastinate or sometimes not even do at all. But Maya is not here to sabotage us. Maya is testing the extent of seriousness that we put into taking the directions. That's all Maya does. Because the price Krishna is going to give us for surrendering to him is tremendous. The price is himself. Krishna gives himself to the devotee. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the cause of all existence, gives himself to the devotee. The devotee that's surrendered to him. So should we expect that it's going to be a piece of cake to just get to the point where the Lord gives us mercy? No, there is some work to do. There is some work to do. You go to college and you want a degree, You're not going to just come play around and then they'll give you the degree. You're going to do some effort. We're going to put in some effort. And if you want a higher degree, there's bachelor's, master's, and PhD. The higher you want, you go after the bar that you set to try to achieve, the more tapasya you're going to go through. It's material tapasya, true enough. But you're going to go through some important tapasya. Therefore, in Krishna consciousness also, and that is the best thing for us in this world, Krishna consciousness. That is what saves our soul. And from that connection, birth and death, old age and disease become a thing of the past. This is what we're working towards. We're not churchgoers. We are serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the devotees, through the spiritual master, through the deity, in order to take the instruction given by the spiritual master for Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada. And he got the instruction from his spiritual master all the way up to Lord Chaitanya, who not only was telling us what to do, but he was doing it himself, chanting the holy name of the Lord, all over Navadvip and later on through all of India. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So our instruction is to hear for guidance and for realization. Our instruction also is to chant, because in Kali Yuga, this particular mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra, is the one that is the Yuga Dharma. For this age, the mantra is the Hare Krishna mantra, and the mantra is imported from the spiritual world. It's not a material mantra. Even though we use our material lips and material voice boxes and so on to chant it, but at this point, our souls are covered, and we're using this physical body to do service. So everything going to come from some of the senses of the physical body. So that's understandable. But the sound is Krishna. The sound is Radha Krishna. So we're fortunate to be vibrating the holy name of the Lord. So, speaking about that, we have been told that in Japa, we chant a minimum of 16 rounds. The Nam Sankirtan, chanting of the holy name of the Lord, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, helps us to develop love eventually for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna Prema. So, the instruction given by Srila Prabhupada is the minimum, chant minimum of 16 rounds daily. Now, if we're going to develop love for God, if we're going to develop love for anyone, whatever we do for that person, because we love that person, is not going to be the minimum. We want to do as much as possible with as high a quality as possible, with a person in mind the whole time we're doing it, because we want to see a smile come on that person's face for what we've done for them. And most of the time, even don't tell them anything, just done as a surprise to them. The level that we understand love, we even know it like that. The most important personality is Lord Sri Krishna. And to develop love for Krishna, because we actually, at this point, as conditioned souls, don't know what it is like to love the Lord. We've fallen out of love for the Lord and being envious. And then finally, after his warnings, we didn't pay attention and we're now in the material world. So to jumpstart our love, the spiritual master has given us specific instructions. The spiritual master also represents the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when he gives instruction, we are also being watched to see if we will obey it. If we don't obey, they're not saying that Krishna's instructions won't be obeyed either, because Guru is Krishna's representative, and he says, do it like this. So that's our practice. Would we obey Guru? The bona fide spiritual master, preeminent spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada says, we chant a minimum of 16 rounds. To make sure we chant every day. But to develop love, you have to do things in higher quality, which means when we chant, we have to chant with high quality, meaning we pay attention and focus on the mind. Unfortunately, the mind that we have is mind that can roam. If it wasn't designed to roam, we wouldn't worry about chanting without attention, but it does roam. So that becomes our challenge. Focus the mind and chant. In order to develop love also, we have to go out of our way to do things. So devotional service should be done from the heart. And chanting should be done from the heart. First with focus, then the heart part will connect. That will happen. Mm-hmm. Hearing. When we hear on a daily basis, then as Srila Prabhupada says, the taste for hearing will be established. And you yourselves are examples of that. We see the same people come on practically every day. Mm-hmm. So Srila Prabhupada says, hearing is just a matter of doing it over and over and over, and it becomes a habit. But Srila Prabhupada did not use the word habit, even though it is known that when you repeat something for 3 weeks straight, you will develop that habit. He didn't use the word habit. He said a taste. The taste for hearing will be established. Mm-hmm. So my prayer is that since the taste has been established, that the taste stay and in fact get even higher in quality. Mm-hmm. The taste for hearing. Because when the taste for hearing gets higher in quality, then what we hear gets to our heart, not just our minds. It gets to our hearts. And not only does it make us happy, it also makes us determined that whatever instruction that's in there, we're going to follow it and follow with all seriousness. That's what hearing does. Mm-hmm. So, Srila Prabhupada continues, mundane manufactured sound has no potency. Mm-hmm. So, even if you get what seems to be transcendental sound, but it's coming from an unauthorized person, it will also have no potency. And that's why Srila Prabhupada warns us, don't go hearing Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 days from a professional who has memorized this to impress you, so you pay some money to hear it. Maharaj Pariksit was a wealthy king. Shukadeva Goswami did not charge Maharaj Pariksit a penny to hear the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. That's not what it is for. So we hear that way, the words may be the same, but the potency won't be there. In other words, our lives won't be changed by listening to a professional just regurgitate the whole verses that is memorized in Srimad Bhagavatam. Mm-hmm. And it becomes just an impressive thing of how we can do this and when it comes to their preaching, we cannot say much from it. The unauthorized persons always, you know in your heart when you hear them, it doesn't sink in. It really doesn't. But sometimes they can be impressive by their level of intelligence. So we stay away from them altogether. They're not going to grow. We're not going to grow, sorry. They won't either. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we need to hear the transcendental sound of Srimad Bhagavatam from the bona fide spiritual master. As we said earlier, just connect to an ISKCON guru. ISKCON makes sure that the line of spiritual masters are bona fide. Mm-hmm. The disciple has to also be ready to execute the order of the bona fide spiritual master. We should be ready. In fact, it should be priority. Mm-hmm. There were devotees that were so keyed in to obeying the spiritual master's instructions that they literally were, you might find it hard to believe this. Even at night, they were dreaming about the service. Now, I can go to details about it. I don't really care to do that right now, but I know what I'm talking about. The service was in their minds, and therefore they even went to sleep thinking about it, and they dreamt about it. When somebody dreams about it, you would know. Either you'd hear them mention something, or did they tell you I had a dream and then describe this based on service? So when we go to bed, before we sleep, we don't need the beats. Just chant the Hare Krishna mantra a few times and drift off to sleep. You have literally spiritualized your sleep when you do that. So, Srila Prabhupada says sense control. Lord Brahma controlled his 2 grades of senses by means of sense perception. That's 1 grade. And then the sense organs themselves, another grade. And he had to engage these senses in executing the order of the Lord, especially the sound that he had to do to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So controlling the senses means engaging them in the service of the Lord. To the Prabhupada in one lecture, I think it's Canto 1, Chapter 8, Text 28, prayers by Queen Kunti. I used it for a recording, so I remember some of the things that Srila Prabhupada is saying in his preaching. He said, controlling the senses simply means engaging the senses in the service of the Lord and the Lord's devotees. That's all. He said, if you control the senses by serving with your senses, where are the senses going to go? The senses are automatically controlled. So we control the senses by using, you can't not use a service. I mean, use the senses, you have to. But if you use it in the service of the Lord and the Lord's devotees and the spiritual master, then the senses are automatically controlled. Then he asks the question, challenges, what is the chance of the senses being diverted? The senses are automatically controlled. Hishikena hishikesha sevanam bhakti uchate. We have to use the senses to serve the master of the senses. Hishikesha is the master of the senses, that's Krishna, and Hishik are the senses. This is Srila Prabhupada in his lectures. So, sense control means use them to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 60, the part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about trying to control the mind and senses artificially. First of all, it doesn't work, but he gives some examples. So he says, there are many sages, philosophers, transcendentalists. They try to conquer the senses. But in spite of their endeavors, even the greatest of them sometimes fall victim to material sense enjoyment due to the agitated mind. When we serve, the mind does not get agitated. There's an example. Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra Muni is a great sage and a perfect yogi. Many of the things that he did against the body in the summer, meditating, sitting in lotus posture, fires lit around him to make the temperature go even higher. In the wintertime, dipping into very, very cold water and staying in that. Still, he was able to control the senses and take such difficult situation and still maintain some steadiness. But what happened? So heavenly apsara, heavenly denizen called Menaka. She came around him because Indra thought that Vishwamitra Muni might wind up getting so many powers or so much, he become so powerful that he might take Indra's position. Indra always kind of worries about that. More than once, he's tried to sabotage other people's meditation. So he sent this very beautiful, physically attractive, and this heavenly denizen called Menaka. Very attractive, and it knows how to get people to be all excited sexually, to come around and dance around Vishwamitra and break his concentration. And finally, as Vishwamitra opened his eyes and saw this beauty of a beauty around him and making herself available to him, then he fell victim to sex enjoyment. The yogi, Vishwamitra, was endeavoring for sense control with severe types of penances, and still Menaka was able to change his mind. And so she was with him for a while. Therefore, it's very difficult to control the mind and senses without being fully Krishna conscious. So that's the aim. You say, how do we go about controlling the mind and the senses? We have to be fully Krishna conscious, which means we have to take Krishna consciousness seriously, every part of it. Grow, get advice in what to do, work towards taking the things that are anattas, the unwanted desires. But we got to tell you one thing so that you don't get too discouraged. The reality of it is, for many devotees, it is a lifetime engagement to get to a very high level of purification. It's a lifetime engagement. Nashta prayesu abhadresu. Nashta prayesu abhadresu. Srimad Bhagavatam. Abhadreshu, the things that are inauspicious. So, Nashta prayesu, destroyed almost to nil. Almost to nil. It does not say they are destroyed completely. They're almost all gone. That is the case for conditioned souls. Can a conditioned soul be pure? A conditioned soul can work very highly towards purity. And that should be the aim. Now, we could say a conditioned soul can be pure. But because the Bhagavatam says, Nashta prayesu abhadresu, I'm staying with what the Bhagavatam says. All that is inauspicious is almost completely gone. That should be our aim. We are trying to get to the point, if we're not pure devotees, some of you may be, I'm certainly not. We're trying to get to the point where we have served and we have worked on ourselves so much that Krishna is impressed with our effort. And through the effort, he gives us mercy. This is how we go back. So nobody should be a little concerned, when am I going to get totally pure? That shouldn't be our aim. Work towards being a better person. And the purity will come on its own. Work towards being a better person. Krishna will purify us. He purifies us through his instruction. And then his protection. And from the instruction, if we take it and we see this hand in our lives, we will see his hand literally in things that sometimes it's our own mistakes. And even the Lord takes us out of all kinds of trouble that sometimes we ourselves caused it. Sometimes it's others, sometimes it's us. But he gives it a break left and right. Then you realize that Krishna has taken control of our lives because we've given ourselves to him. When we surrender, then we become more confident of our lives. Confident, not because confident in the false ego way, confident because our total surrender to Krishna yields fruit that Krishna makes us realize that he is with us. And it is a wonderful feeling to have. Then you begin to realize Krishna's love is coming through, even while we are conditioned souls. So, Srila Prabhupada describes the desire for lording it over, being the controller, and for sense gratification. It is the greatest enemy of the conditioned soul. It is the greatest enemy. For being the controller, when Krishna is actually the controller, we try to be controller. That's one of the enemies. And connecting with sense gratification, when we're supposed to be serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is another enemy. of the conditioned soul. But by the strength of Krishna consciousness, one can control the material senses, mind, and intelligence. Involve them in devotional service, and you can control them. One may not give up the work or the prescribed duties, just all of a sudden quit doing that. No. But by gradually developing Krishna consciousness, one can get to a point where we are in a transcendental position. And now the material senses don't influence, our minds don't influence so much us to material things, sense gratification. Srila Prabhupada says it's a gradual process. Now, in this material life now, everything we want to fast, everything we want done, no. When it comes to Krishna consciousness, it's gradual growth. It grows on you. You learn one situation after another. You listen to instructions with examples of things that have happened and how it was handled, and you get to know, and you begin to practice that. So you change one aspect of the way you used to look at things. That's how we change. Slowly become better. So in Bhagavatam, not Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, again, chapter 4, text 26. The mind and sense control are connected to the ashrams too. Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanapas, Sannyas. We'll talk about some part of it. I'm looking at the time now. So human life, we've already established, is not meant for enjoying sense gratification like the animals. So for that, Chatu Varna Maya System, Krishna says, I've created these 4 orders of human life. So one may become perfect in spiritual life. There's Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, but then that's the Varna part, the ashram part. Brahmacharis, students under the care of a bona fide spiritual master. They have to control the mind by abstaining it from sense gratification. And the more you hear lectures, the more you become convinced. A brahmachari should hear words only concerning Krishna consciousness. Hearing is the basic principle for understanding. Therefore, the brahmachari can purify the life by engaging fully in Krishna or Hare Namatu Kirtanam, chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord. Brahmachari has to restrain himself from the vibration of material sounds. And his hearing is to be engaged in the transcendental vibration. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Now, grihastas, householders, they have some license for sense gratification. But they have to perform this sense gratification with great restraint. Sex life, intoxication, meat eating are the general tendencies of the human society. People like that. Sex life, to be intoxicated, and to eat meat, to eat fish, to eat eggs. But a regulated householder does not indulge in unrestricted sex life and other sense gratification. So marriage on the principles of religious life is therefore current in all civilized human society. If they're civilized, then the principles are there. In some religions, it's relaxed a little bit. But actually, what the rules are for sense gratification, sex life particularly, in this society, is very, very consistent with the nature of the physical body. What we mean by that is involvement in sex is followed by pregnancy. That's the way the body is designed. The body is designed that way. Therefore, if we want to involve ourselves in sex life, then we have to be ready for the results that come with that. Pregnancy by the woman. That's just the way the bodies are designed. So is it really a rule? Strictly speaking, no, it isn't. In other words, it's just a question of be for real. This is the body we have. If you involve yourself in sex life, the woman's going to get pregnant. So if you don't want pregnancy, don't involve yourself in sex life. That's just the bottom line thing from the way the body is constructed. But then we want to bring a soul that will either elevate Krishna consciousness on this planet or to continue their own growth in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, our activity as householders in sex life is to be spiritualized. The aim should be to bring a soul who is connecting with Krishna consciousness, who is going to connect with Krishna consciousness, or who's already connected with Krishna consciousness and is coming into our families. So we cannot indulge in unrestricted sex life, just like some others do, both atheists and some religions. So Krishna says, I'm sex life based on religious principles. And the principles are what is actually biologically consistent with the way our bodies are like. The body is like that. Why is it that some people sometimes, unfortunately, some woman gets raped and then she winds up being pregnant from the rape? Why? Because the body is designed like that. So it is the kind of body we have. This is not a rule, it's the reality. So in Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, text 5, the purpose of a yoga system is mind control. The purpose of a yoga system is to control the mind and draw it away from the attachment to the senses. You see, the Prabhupada makes that clear. Therefore, in conclusion, sense control and mind control should be regarded as important priorities in our lives. That is our tapas. Second, persistent prayer, especially the chanting, causes the Lord to guide us in a way for us, a custom-designed way, for lack of a better way to put it, to get control of the mind and senses. Somebody is saying what we mean here is, I don't know, I have this problem when it comes to this particular sense control, I'm struggling with it. There is nothing that the Lord can't do. So a person that's struggling with any kind of the regulated principles should pray to Guru. If you're initiated, pray to your Guru. If you're not initiated, pray to Srila Prabhupada to help with that. And you should pray every day so it becomes a persistent prayer. Persistent prayer is what works. Say it so many times. I want to be purified. Please help me. I have a problem with illicit sex. I have a problem with drinking. I have a problem with gambling. There's some part of food stuff that we're not supposed to eat that I still have a taste for it. Please help me. Please help me. Like that. Now, finally, there will be attempts by Maya at any point, but we should be very determined. There will be attempts by Maya to test us. Whatever place that we had struggles with in obeying the regulated principles, Maya will test us there again, even when we get control. And it is a stepwise thing. First, you stop physically doing it, and then later, with work and prayer and being around devotees who are fixed up, you will also give up. We will also give up the desire for doing that thing wrong. First, the physical cut off from that thing, physically stop. And then later on, by working on ourselves, when we become purified, then we can stay away from that. Mentally, the unwanted desire also goes away. But Maya will always be poking to see, are we really gone from it completely? So we have to be on guard to protect our Bhakti Kripa. So Lord Brahma taught us, one, to obey, and two, to control the mind and the senses and involve them in tapasya. And our devotee life has already tapasya built in. The chanting, the waking up early, go to bed early so you can wake up early with enough sleep in between to get the body to rest properly, especially before 12 midnight. You gotta sleep before 12 midnight. Some people say 9:30, 10:30, 11, yeah, but before 12 especially, if you have to stay up late for any reason. And with that, we will be able to get closer and closer because the Lord wants us back home, more so than we even want to go. That's how much Krishna loves us. So if we take this process seriously, just like Lord Brahma did his meditation on tapa, like that, perform the austerities, it's good for us. It may be difficult physically, but it's good for us in the long run. Then we will be happy, and then you go back to Godhead by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you again for coming, as you constantly, keep coming and learning, and we all grow together. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So if there are any questions, please unmute yourself. Dear Krishna Prabhu, please go ahead. Accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to
Aye.
Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for very, very straightforward, very, very direct points, practical points.
Krishna's mercy,
Um,
Guru's mercy. Right.
so when you were bringing the point of hearing from and taking instructions from the bona fide spiritual master, in this age when we have so much hearing opportunities available all over internet, on our devices, laptops, and we end up associating with all kinds of people and so-called devotees also. So how to make sure that we are still abiding to that instruction that we should hear from bona fide sources? What are the precautions one can take? Because there might be some so-called devotees who might be portraying themselves as the representative of a bona fide spiritual master, and sometimes simple people, they just get trapped into that. They might still be speaking Krishna Katha and everything, but because they're not really authorized or approved by any authority, there there is some there is a great possibility of some issues there with the
Yeah,
process. So
yeah,
just wanted to get more clarification on that.
yeah. Sometimes, very good question, very good point also. Sometimes some people may seem to be giving you what is authentic when in fact it is not. How to be, have to have the exercise, how to exercise precaution in this situation. We have in the way of spiritual life, for us as Vaishnava, three aspects that should be consistent. We have a guru, we have sadhu, and we have shastra. We have scriptures, the saints, the devotees, that is, and then the spiritual master. Now, anytime we're hearing and what's being said is not consistent with what's in the shastra, then that's a problem. That is your first red flag. It doesn't matter who's speaking. What they're speaking should be consistent with what's in the scriptures. This is Lord Chaitanya's instruction. He said, you have to, or said, we have to take the scriptures and like it is, as is, and preach as is. That's why Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita was successful. There were Bhagavad Gitas written before Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, but he wrote Bhagavad Gita as it is. And it did have a great impact on people's minds and made them devotees. The comments and the other ones were not able to make anyone a devotee for hundreds of years. But the one Srila Prabhupada wrote began to open people's minds to who Krishna was. His comments, which he said were from the Supreme Lord, Krishna himself dictated to Srila Prabhupada to write those purports. And the purports are life transforming, as we well know. So what is said from Srila Prabhupada, that is what we have to follow. And even now, in the ISKCON management, people are being careful now. I was at Dallas, the Dallas temple, in a program with the whole weekend with devotees And Davida Prabhu, lifelong brahmachari Papa disciple, that was his turn to speak. And he spoke on maintaining what is written by Srila Prabhupada in the Shastra. So even there's a group that is careful. They're charged to maintain what is written so that it does not get given a different meaning. Any part of it doesn't get given a different meaning. First time I heard it, I was surprised. I thought, how can anything change? But sometimes in expressing, they may change some of the words here and there, but with the meaning stay the same. And that was the point that, and the Veda Prabhu was talking about, and he was drilled quite a bit, and for good reason. The devotees wanted to be sure. And many of the Srila Prabhupada disciples that were present were emotionally connected to this whole point that we should never change what Srila Prabhupada said, even to the point where if Srila Prabhupada's grammar of expressing a point was not according to the polished English language, some people even were insisting, leave it like that, because we don't want to change and then wind up changing the meaning of what Srila Prabhupada meant. And sometimes it's changed a little bit here and there. But the meaning never really goes away. And I still remember quite a few examples. I don't need to go into that. So one, I know I've kind of digressed over it a little bit to come to the point. What's said should be consistent with what's in the Shastra. The Shastra is being protected. There's the whole department that does that, and it's gone. And the Guru is going to preach. He's an acharya. He tells you based on the Shastra, and his lifestyle should reflect what it is that they're saying. There are some people who are not bona fide, and they will speak from Shastra. They will twist some things, but more importantly, one of the things that's a dead giveaway is eventually we find out that their lifestyle is not consistent with what they're talking about in the Shastra. They have serious, serious weaknesses. So, yes, we can listen, but if we listen, one, to see the Papa's own lectures, you can't go wrong. And it's been recorded. We know his voice. When you listen to anyone else, they quote from Srila Prabhupada's books, which is actually books on the Parampara, because he's put references from ascended spiritual masters in his books, in the comment section, the purport section. So if we stay with Srila Prabhupada, we'll be fine. If the person you're listening to is quoting from Srila Prabhupada to support what they're saying, you know you're hearing the right thing. And they themselves are going through serious work on themselves to improve, to be a better person. That is also very important, because the Srila Prabhupada says purity is a force. If we don't work to get more purification, determined to change our lifestyle for the better, then our words won't carry much weight. It's like that. It won't carry much weight. So, very good question. Thank you for actually bringing it up. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Sadhu
Prabhu.
Shastra.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other points of takeaways or questions as you may like? Unmute yourself. Okay, well, it's past the hour now. It's 9:10 now. So I'd like to thank you for coming on today to hear. And hopefully what we've heard would be impactful in our lives. Make us take Krishna consciousness even more seriously. We do ourselves a lot of good the more we take Krishna consciousness seriously, hearing and applying what we hear. Panchakalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubhyo cha patitānaṁ pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you again.